Tell that to the 9 in Charleston. A study found that white supremacists are more dangerous to America than foreign terrorists. In the 14 years since 9/11, 48 people have been killed by white supremacist, right-wing extremists, more than twice as many as have been killed by self-identified jihadists in that same time. Tell that to the 9 in Charleston, 9 innocent people murdered in their church while praying peacefully in Bible study, murdered by a 21-year-old vicious white supremacist terrorist, murdered because they were black. Tell that to the 4 innocent children murdered in Birmingham, 16th Street Baptist Church, and 22 others injured in the bombing committed by vicious KKK white supremacist terrorists, murdered because they were black. Tell that to the 3,959 documented victims of racial terror in 12 southern states from 1877 to 1950 who were lynched, burned, castrated, shot, stabbed, and even beheaded by vicious KKK white supremacist terrorists, murdered because they were black. Tell that to Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., who was brutally murdered in 1964 for preaching about freedom and for daring to lead the civil rights movement by a vicious white supremacist terrorist, murdered because he was black. Tell that to the 3 Freedom Riders murdered in 1964 in Mississippi for daring to speak out about civil rights and voting rights, for registering black voters, by vicious KKK white supremacist terrorists, murdered for standing with blacks. Tell that to the thousands upon thousands of blacks who were terrorized by cross burnings committed by white-hooded KKK cowards, ashamed to show their faces, vicious KKK white supremacist terrorists, merely because they were black. Tell that to the thousands upon thousands of enslaved blacks, shackled, stripped naked, paraded on selling floors, sold as slaves, victims of racism and slavery under color of law by vicious white supremacist terrorists merely because they were black. Tell that to the thousands upon thousands of enslaved blacks terrorized by whipping, lynching, denied last names, birth certificates, education, marriage, babies ripped from mothers by vicious white supremacist terrorists merely because they were black. Tell that to the millions of free blacks in the South who were subjugated by Jim Crow laws, by segregation, humiliated by laws that made it impossible for blacks to vote, enacted by vicious white supremacist terrorists merely because they were black. Tell that to all of the innocent dead victims. Yes, they are listening. About the study that found how much more deadly it is to die at the hands of a vicious KKK white supremacist terrorist than at the hands of an Islamist jihadist. How many studies, how much research How many dissertations? How many speeches will it take? How much suffering must people endure? How much do we have to study the evil of racist, white supremacist terrorism before we declare for a fact that it is evil?